Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my first pregnancy update. We're going to be talking about symptoms and how I knew I was pregnant all the way from 3 weeks to 7 weeks. So starting around the time of my 2-week wait and then going all the way to 7 weeks. I've got my notes sitting in my lap, so if I keep looking down, that's why. But starting around 8 days past ovulation, so in my 2-week wait, that's around the time period that I started having symptoms. And this was actually 1 day before I got my positive pregnancy test, and the first couple symptoms that made me think that maybe something was actually going to happen this month. My dad and I had traveled to Maryland for a motocross race, and it was really hot that day. The temperatures were pretty high. But anybody that knows me knows I'm crazy about a motocross race. Doesn't matter the temperature, doesn't matter if it's raining, I'm gonna be there and I'm gonna watch the entire time. But for some reason that day I just couldn't hang. I kept getting so tired and the heat was just wearing on me a lot, and we ended up spending quite a bit of time in the car. So we were listening to the race from the car and just having to go back and take breaks and everything. And so that kind of made me a little suspicious. But you know, when you're trying to get pregnant, you try to find reasons for things because you don't want to get your hopes up. So I was like, I'm probably just getting sick, or either maybe the heat is just getting to me a little bit more today, because I didn't want to get my hopes up. But oh yeah, the next symptom that I had was I was very emotional, which I thought was kind of funny. Like at every motocross race, they have someone perform the national anthem. And I mean, I love our troops. I'm so grateful for them and for their service, but I actually started getting teary-eyed during the national anthem, which was different for me. And I thought that that was something that was definitely strange. And that combined with increased thirst and hunger, I kind of started to be suspicious that maybe something different was happening this month. But the symptom that I ended up experiencing that made me go take the pregnancy test the next day was low back pain. This was not just normal, like crampy back pain. It was pretty strong, and it's the exact same thing that I had with my first pregnancy, Austin. And when I mentioned it to my doctors, they were like, oh, you know, you can't really feel implantation. It was probably just a coincidence. So I kind of wrote it off after the first pregnancy as being a symptom or a sign that I was pregnant. But after experiencing it again this time and then actually being pregnant, for whatever reason, that is a symptom for me. Like whether it's actually the egg implanting or like hormones that start being released after the egg implants, that is definitely a big symptom for me. So the next day I was about 9 DPO, and if you want to see the video how I found out I was pregnant and telling my husband and family and all that, I'll leave a link in the description box down below, as well as put one of the little suggestion tabs up above so you guys can click on it for easy reference. But I was about 9 DPO when I actually took the test and it was positive. And this was super early for me. I was like, I would be considered 3 weeks and about 2 days pregnant. So this was like 5 or 6 days before I was even supposed to miss my period. So we found out really early. That brings us to week 4. Week 4 and week 5, I didn't really have that crazy of symptoms. You know, your body hasn't really figured out that you're pregnant yet. So for week 4, I just wrote down increased thirst and hunger, mild cramping, not really period-like cramps, but just kind of cramping in my uterus, and I finally missed my period, which of course is a big indicator that you're pregnant. So those are my symptoms for week 4. And then week 5, I wrote down fatigue. I definitely remember that coming on, feeling like I needed to go to bed a little bit earlier, and just being more tired all around. That was definitely a symptom for me. And I started, instead of having increased hunger and increased thirst, I started to experience decreased appetite. Like food was just not really starting not to sound very interesting to me and kind of starting to put me off. And that's also when kind of mild nausea started for me. not actually getting sick, but just not really feeling with it, just kind of feeling off, just feeling really gross. And then week 6 for both pregnancies that I've had, this is the week that I usually actually start to feel pregnant. This is a big symptom week for me. So the main ones I wrote down were pretty heavy fatigue, like needing to go to bed earlier, needing to take a nap, and actually being able to take a nap. When I'm not pregnant, I can't take a nap. Like I can't get tired enough to actually fall asleep. But being pregnant, that's one of the only times that I can actually nap and fall asleep because I'm so tired. And I had increased sense of smell and a very particular food aversion to fish and eggs. I remember coming home and Paul had fixed egg salad for lunch one day. That did not go over well. It was gross. I could smell it. Even after he had like washed the dishes and everything, I could still smell it in the house, and I remember being so grossed out by it. I also started having round ligament pain being 6 weeks pregnant and being a little bit out of breath like I am right now. And week 6 for me is also when I started to experience sore breasts. Like anytime anything would bump up against them, it'd be really sore. If I tried to wear a padded bra, it would be really sore. I kind of was reduced to just having to wear sports bras or kind of very lightly lined bras. And then this week, I actually started getting physically sick from the nausea. So actually like vomiting in the morning, and not just morning, it's actually like morning, noon, and night. But thankfully, this morning sickness hasn't been as bad as my first pregnancy. My first pregnancy with Austin, I feel like I couldn't get out of bed like all day. I was so nauseous, so sick. So this baby's been taking it a little bit easier on me, which I am so grateful for because it makes everything a little bit more manageable. Week 6 was also a very special week because this was our first doctor visit. And even though it was so early, we actually got to do the first ultrasound at 6 weeks, which just, it relieved me so much to be able to do that. It brought me so much relief because after experiencing a loss with Austin, I needed to know that this baby was okay. And that's what I told my doctor. I was like, I just really need to know that there's a heartbeat. I need to know if it's okay for me to get any more attached than I already am, kind of just a way to protect myself. And so she was like, yeah, I totally understand. Let me go ahead and get you in for that today. And so she was really great about that. And I'm pretty sure we weren't supposed to film, but I figured it'd be easier to ask for forgiveness instead of permission. So I had Paul take a clip of the first ultrasound at the doctor's office. Hey Paul, where are we going?
To the doctor.
To do what?
To see the baby.
How are you feeling?
I'm trying to follow these directions.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling fine. How are you feeling?
You're not feeling excited?
Oh yeah, I'm feeling excited.
I think I'm gonna get Paul to try to sneak and take some footage of the ultrasound if they do it today. I hope they do it. I'm not even sure if they're going to or not. But I'm gonna try to sneak and get some pictures of them. And then that brings us to 7 weeks pregnant. 7 weeks pregnant wasn't really too different for me from the symptoms that I experienced being 6 weeks pregnant, but the ones that I wrote down were fatigue, still nauseous, round ligament pain, and aversion to sweets. I couldn't handle like sweets or anything like that. I really wanted salty food, and also plain carbs, which not the most healthy thing. But I give myself grace in the first trimester because you have to eat whatever baby will let you eat. And for me, for a couple of days, that was bagels, pasta, things like that. Not necessarily that healthy, but you do what you gotta do, and you know, you can make up for it, the vegetables and everything, when you're feeling better. And I also wrote a big thing for me starting around 7 weeks is my emotions. I've been very emotional this pregnancy. I think just a mixture of the pregnancy and still dealing with Austin's passing and his loss that we experienced in March. It's definitely made dealing with this pregnancy and the emotions that I've been feeling a lot harder. I already struggle with anxiety, and I have pretty much my whole life. And then so after Austin's passing, I now also struggle with kind of depression in relation to that. So my lows can feel pretty low at times, and I think being pregnant, sometimes it's harder to pull myself like out of those holes when I am having really bad days. But I have an awesome therapist and a very supportive family and supportive husband that is quick to notice when I'm feeling that way. They're quick to ask me, you know, is there anything they can do, or if I want to talk about it. And they're really great at helping me deal with those emotions. But I would say, like, as far as what was hardest to deal with during my first pregnancy, like if you'd asked me, I would have definitely said the morning sickness, especially during the first trimester. But I think my greatest struggle with this pregnancy and this baby, hands down, has been emotions. Highs and lows of the first 7 weeks of pregnancy. It's hard for me to pick just one high, so I'm gonna have a couple. Probably one of them is gonna be finding out that I was pregnant. Another one would be telling my family and Paul. And a third one I think would have to be getting to see the baby for the first time on the ultrasound. That's always really special, and getting to share that picture with family. And then I think a low for me for the first 7 weeks would probably be dealing with emotions and just navigating through grief and that portion of our journey while being pregnant and experiencing the heightened emotions. But overall, I mean, we're still overjoyed with this baby, and they've brought so much new life and so much joy into our life already. And I just can't wait to keep being able to give pregnancy updates, and hopefully at our next ultrasound we'll have a little better picture to actually show everybody. You know, at the 6-week ultrasound it's still just a tiny little bean, so you can't really see anything. But I'm so overjoyed to get to share this journey with you. And I also just wanted to say thank you to everyone that subscribed to our channel and who's left comments and likes. It really does help our channel a lot, especially being a smaller channel. And so just to say thanks, once we reach 100 subscribers, we are going to be doing a small giveaway just to say thanks and show our appreciation for everybody that's chosen to follow along on our journey, and just the continued support that you guys continue to give us. It really means a lot, and it helps so much. And I can't wait to get to share the rest of our journey, especially with this pregnancy, with you guys. And I'll see you in our next video. Bye.